Okay, picking up from where we left off at there, going into these so-called constitutionalists and people who believe in the Constitution and using that as a pretext to say their liberties are being taken away and America's fallen, they're still missing the mark. First of all, these constitutionalists have backed the so-called illuminist powers for years against God's people. Okay? Just because you have a constitution and a law doesn't mean that constitution is correct when it was built and written with a pen filled with blood of the children of Israel. Going back to that, if you're going to talk about rights being taken away, why not look at how the country was instituted from the beginning? It was built on blood. You should have known one day that that world would come down. So instead of standing together to try to keep the nation together under illegal means, why don't you come back to the Most High and come to the truth of God and back God's people? Not the people over in Israel today. Don't give to donations that go right back to the eugenics destruction. Why don't you start looking at helping and supporting God's people, the children of Israel? Look in those neighborhoods and ghettos. Stand up against the eugenics program that's against these people. Come out and tell everyone it's not a conspiracy that they have separated the homes and destroyed the families and pit the man against the woman and institutionalized the children and have killed many minorities through so-called Planned Parenthood. See, it was okay when you all knew it was happening to us. But now you've been complicit. Satan is now aiming that same destruction towards all of you for allowing it to happen to a people for years. Now let's go on back into the curses here. The main curse, Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68.
Go ahead.
And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
So why Pastor Manning ain't reading this scripture? That the Most High said he would bring Israel into Egypt, which means bondage, again with ships. Now how do we know this means bondage? There was no such man named Egypt. The name of Ham's son is Mizraim or Montezariel. The Greeks named that landmass Egypt. Why? Because it meant hard bondage, captivity, servitude. Hold that and get Exodus 13 and 3. Read it.
Exodus chapter 13, verse 3.
Go ahead.
And Moses said unto the people, remember this day in which ye came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Out of what?
Out of the house of bondage.
So the promise was to the children of Israel, the oath is, if you don't follow the commandments, you will go back into the house of bondage. So it's not talking about a physical land of Egypt. How do we know this? The curses in Deuteronomy 28 distinctly say that Israel shall be scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, serving wood and stone. So any place that the children of Israel have been scattered to is houses of bondage. That's all 12 tribes. The eugenics program, Agenda 21, the destruction of the illuminist powers have always been aimed towards killing and destroying these people who are scattered and are hiding amongst the other nations. That's what it's always been about with the bloodline trackers, with your Dracula, with your vampires, your satanic Queen of England, which is representing the goddess Astarte, with your political systems. It have always been setting up a new world order, taking blood to identify that bloodline that linked to the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's what this thing is all about. It's not about the Constitution. It's not about these little proxy wars and these little propaganda through media that they're pushing. It's about Esau destroying his brother Jacob. I can't say that enough. That's what it is. On a governmental, spiritual high level. And our people have brought into it. So now they have an agenda. Since you want to go with the program, the next program is mass extermination. How many of you want to go along with that? How many of you agree with that? Hey, that's right in their plans. This is nothing we're pulling out of the air. They're putting these things blatant in your face that they need depopulation. They're just telling you, Bill Gates, all these eugenicists that are actually paid to do this. They're actually telling the whole world, like, listen, we need to downsize the earth. They're looking at this like a corporate or liquidating a business or a corporation. It's time to liquidate. And all you people who are buying into the system, who believe that this system is not looking to destroy and kill and totally eradicate you, you will be the first to go. Why? Because you're walking sleep in a war. Going back to the curse, it says, Deuteronomy 28:68, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt a second time by the means of what?
With ships.
With what?
With ships.
With ships. So why is it that pastors cannot read this scripture? Why? Because if they read this scripture, those who went into servitude or captivity by the means of ships would eventually relate themselves to the curses that only came upon the children of Israel. So they can't teach you this in Western world churches. They have to teach you that you're from the seed of Ham and that you're suffering the sins of Canaan. They can't tell you about these curses. Why? Because if you identify these curses, you can identify those who've oppressed, killed, and lied to you through education. Through this systematic captivity they call education. It's not education, it's programming. There's a difference. Education is for one's benefit. Programming is for the benefit of the whole. You're sold into the Borg. That's what programming is. You are a part of a satanic program. So these institutions of learning are not institutions of education. They're institutions of programming into Satan's Masonic Illuminate world. Initiations into Satan's world. And a lot of you are buying into this, thinking that America is going to go on forever. The world is going to go on forever. Listen, it's about to stop. But before it stops, these people are looking to cause much pain on the poor all over the earth, especially in Babylon. And that's where Agenda 21 takes hold. That's where that soul, everyone should be looking into the UN plans. Because the UN is being controlled through Satan. Everyone should be looking at every plan of the UN and fighting them tooth and nail with every spiritual way you can imagine. You should be fighting against them. You should be praying against them in the name of Ahia. You should be going against them. Anything they want you to do, you need to do the reverse. If they want Planned Parenthood and abortion, you shouldn't do it. If they want you to vaccinate, you shouldn't do it. If they don't want you to homeschool, you should do it. If they want you to go to psychology and take some of their medication, which actually puts spirits in you, that drives you mad, you shouldn't do it. There's no science anywhere that backs psychology or psychiatry. It's mental manipulation and total destruction of one's mind. If they're telling you to relegate your right to live, nix the constitutional rights, they are invading our rights as men and women born sovereign under the Most High God. Nix standing for the Constitution. The Constitution is gone. That's been gone since the Patriot Act. What about our right to survive and not have you invade our space so that we can serve our God? What about that right? Go back to the curse, Deuteronomy 28:68.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68.
Go ahead.
And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Egypt, which means bondage, a second time by the means of ships. Read.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
This captivity that the Lord put his people in throughout the four corners of the earth is our last captivity. This is it. And the powers that control this earth understands this. Even the spirit, when Christ came to cast out a spirit, it asked Christ, have you come to torment me before my time? They know they only have a certain amount of time before we're free. And will assume the positions on this earth as the children of God. And the chief people who are behind the institutions and the education against us is the same people that own your corporations, the same people who are killing the great spiritual people who are amongst us, like the Whitney Houstons and the Michael Jacksons, turning his mind upside down. They're initiating us, how they initiating Jay-Z, how they initiated Beyonce, who was once innocent, had the spirit of the Most High within her, singing greatly, a great beautiful woman. Look how greatly beautiful Whitney Houston was before they destroyed her. They initiate us into their program so that we can buy in. And then, eventually, they want your soul. A lot of people don't even know that a day before this so-called thing happened with Whitney Houston, her daughter, they had to grab her daughter out of the tub because they was going to drown her first. That was in the news. That she was the first one was supposed to go. But I guess Whitney went in her daughter's place. As you get high up there, brothers and sisters, somebody must die. This is, I'm going to tell you, brothers and sisters, we've been born into one big satanic ritual. And now they're looking to eradicate us altogether. And you know what they say? Well, he gave the ultimate sacrifice. Or she gave the ultimate sacrifice. That's what we are to them, brothers and sisters. We are sacrifices to the Gentile gods. And we will continue to be sacrificed until we come back to Ahia, the I am that I am, the God of all gods. And because we've been demoralized, dejected, don't know left from right, a lot of us are so confused because there's so many religions. That was the point of Satan, because he's the author of confusion. He meant it that way. Because we have no direction, he will now use that as a tool also to destroy us in Jacob's trouble. He's doing it. They're doing it. Look how many of you are complying now. You see that things are getting tight, so you're looking into areas that cost less. A lot of people are moving into Georgia now. They're moving back down south. This is all systematic Agenda 21 eugenics. They have purposely lowered the price of property in certain areas so that we, the poor, could funnel into certain areas. They did this purposely, knowing that they will soon set off bioweapons, destruction, all types of things against us to lead to eugenics. The total destruction of God's people. Now, for you who think that government could never think like this, we're going to go back to a few governments before America. Right now. How much time we have on this? Okay, good. We're going back into some history here, brothers and sisters, to show you governments have always thought like this. It's called population control. You can never let the population get out of control to the point where it will overrun government. This is what governments do. As long as we were enslaved people with no idea who we were and thought we were free, we could be utilized. And they figured they would just poison us through their corporate medicines and their corporate foods and their vaccination program, so that when we do come to the age of understanding and become wise, we fall dead before we have an opportunity to relay the warnings to the next generation. So they have systematically set this up to keep you working, to keep you oppressed, to keep your mind confused, and to systematically destroy us through eugenics. thinking that one day we may wake up and overrun their government, and they will have none of this. And these people who are behind it are top Satanists. They are not the children of Israel. They do not believe in the Bible. They do not believe in Torah. That's just a mirage they give you so you can support your own destruction, so you can support the same people who are set up to enslave and kill you. Let's get it. Read it again.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68.
Read.
And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt or captivity again with what?
With ships.
With ships.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee.
Read.
Thou shalt see it no more again.
There you will see it no more again. No more slavery after this one. Read.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
Unto your what?
Unto your enemies.
And there you shall be sold unto your enemies. These enemies are enemies of God. These are people who are following Gentile gods. We will be sold to these Gentiles for what?
For bondmen and bondwomen.
For slave men and slave women. Why didn't Pastor Manning read this? Who is these people? This never happened to the people over in Israel or Palestine today. Read.
And no man shall buy you.
That's no man shall save or redeem you, knowing that that's Christ's job. No man will redeem or save us. Doesn't matter how articulate, smart, strong. There's no man in this earth can do what Yeshua did for us. So it's through his blood we are redeemed. Now we're going to go back into some history here to show you. Because Christ gave us an indicator. He gave us someone we can look at or look to be warned from. St. John 8 and 44 and Revelations 2 and 9. I need you to get Jeremiah 16 and 11 right after that. St. John 8 and 44 and Revelations 2 and 9.
St. John chapter 8 verse 44.
Read.
Ye are of your father the devil.
Christ told these Pharisees, which were Edomites from the Herodian dynasty, who converted into Judaism, they were Edomites. Ye are of your father the devil. Read.
And the lust of your father ye will do.
You will do the same thing your father did. Read.
He was a murderer from the beginning.
The first murderer was Cain. So this man would stand in the same spirit as Cain to slay his brother. Now, if Christ is from Jacob, who must he be talking to here? His brother Esau. He's speaking to his brother Esau right here. You're going to try to murder your own brother, the same way Cain murdered Abel. Read.
And abode not in the truth.
And your education is a bunch of lies. Your institutions are a bunch of lies. That's what Christ is saying. You abide not in the truth. Read.
Because there is no truth in him.
Because there's no truth in him. Here it is. They'll teach you all day that we should be following the Torah, but they're following the Talmud over there in Israel. The Talmud tell you that they can enslave us, they can rape us, they can kill us, they can do whatever they want to do to Gentiles because they're cattle. They can lie to Gentiles and it'd be okay. They can kill Gentiles and it'd be okay. That's in the Talmud. But they'll lie and make you believe that they are the children of God. Why? You're programmed through your movies, your television, your programming stations. You believe the lie they've shuffled out to you. You believe this. Christ's been identifying them. Now, how do we know these are the same people? St. John 8 and 44 says, Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. You were a murderer from the beginning. These people would be behind all the wars you see in the earth. Murdering and killing and destroying. Christ is about life. The Most High is about life. There is no spiritual justification for killing innocent men, women, and children all over the earth. Revelations 2 and 9. Read it.
Revelations chapter 2 verse 9.
Read it.
I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich.
The Most High told the churches, Yeshua told the churches, he know the works, tribulation, and poverty we're going through, but we're rich. Even though we've lost everything, we're still rich in spirit. They can't take that from us. Read.
And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews.
And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews. Now hold up. This can't be talked about our people, because our people thought we were African. We thought we were African. We even to this day, we're not trying to stake claim to our true identity. So Christ told us to take a good look at those that's blaspheming, that's saying they are Jews, but are what?
And are not.
And are not. What people are claiming to be Jews and are not? Well, we know of people over in Europe who converted during the time of the Crusades, from Khazaria, from Russia. They converted into Judaism. So they're claiming to be the Jews. So while God's people lost their identity, these people stepped in their place to become the authority of education, to become the authority of God's people in the earth, to assume God's promised people's position, all the while destroying God's people and making new plans through legislation, law, and through medicine, and through psychology, and infiltrate them through institutions and organizations. So Christ says, he know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are who?
But are the synagogue of Satan.
Are the synagogue of Satan. Synagogue means chief house. These people worship in synagogues. Christ told us to look out for them. He distinctly told us to watch these people who are claiming to be him, who are claiming to be you, but are not. They're the chief house of Satan, and he gave us more. Read.
Verse 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer.
He says, don't fear what they're going to do to us. Read.
Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison.
They're going to start casting you into prison. Now, who is financing the industrial prison complex? Who's setting up the fusion centers? Who's setting up the FEMA camps? And Christ tells us, listen, don't fear what they're doing. Who is pushing the legislation so that Barack Obama can sign the National Defense Authorization Act? But Christ says, don't fear that. They're going to throw us into prison. Why? They believe that we were born to serve them. Mad and upset that in Genesis 25, it distinctly tells us that the elder should serve the younger. They don't like the fact that the Most High, even though they came out first as Esau, they don't like the fact that it was meant for them to serve their younger brother Jacob. So now they're setting up an institutional prison complex to destroy God's people and to use eugenics and killing people and all that out there. And sometimes, let me tell you, sometimes I don't even like to talk about some of these things that I'm speaking about. We had one situation that we had in the United States right before we left out. It was absolutely crazy. Way before, a little before we left out. I don't even like to talk about it. There was police who grabbed Azell while we were in the States for nothing. Put him up in some study center someplace for a day. I seen him the next day. I'm looking at him like, you okay? Over $1 or something, a BB gun or something small. I don't even like to put these things out, but listen to what they did. They checked his records and tried to give him all types of vaccination shots. All types of shots. And then they just released him. Okay, you can have him. That's what they're doing in these institutions. They want to grab your child for a while. The next thing you know, he was down in the hospital for over a week because of those vaccinations. This is what they do. Had to work with herbs and all that to try to get him back right. He's right now and he's strong and healthy. All praises to Ahia. But I want to talk about that because a lot of you don't know. When you give your children over to these institutions, immediately they go into a complex, a prison complex. And in these youth study centers and all these homes through social services, they're looking to kill us off. This is what they're doing. This is what they're doing, brothers and sisters, on a high level. On a high level. They'll take the kid, and usually it happens in school. Something break out in school, you work in some place, next thing you know they got your kid, they got your child someplace. This is the complex they have set up. I don't like to talk about things personal, but let me tell you, this thing hits every one of us on a personal level. Wake up. They're looking to enslave, kill, destroy. Their medicine is total destruction and evil. They're making it where you can't eat any food. You got to watch everything you eat. They're regulating aspartame and poisons and rat poison. These are the same people the churches are standing up saying that they are the children of God. And they're regulating death and destruction. Now that we've awakened, they're like, okay, Agenda 21 now. Let's kill them off. This is what they're saying. Let's sign the National Defense Authorization Act. Let's grab these people and arrest them for anything and don't have to tell them what we're arresting them for. Just call them terrorists and put them someplace and slow kill and euthanize these people. This ain't the future, brothers and sisters. This is now. This is the world we live in. This is it. This ain't yesterday. Now they have rolled these things out. The next campaign is to turn the whole world against those who can see. Yeshaya says, I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Behold, fear none of the things that you will suffer, because they're going to come after us. He says, they will throw you into prison. Who's financing the complex, the prison complexes? You're going to find out if you track the money, it goes right back to the Rothschilds, the Bushes, the Queen of England, all the so-called Bilderbergs, the satanic Bohemian Grove politicians, the CIA, every government power under Satan's structure. This leads to. And the pinnacle is Israel. Nothing else makes sense. This is not about no constitution. This is about Satan fighting against the elect. This is what this is about. It's deeper than your governments. It's about them understanding what we will become if we came together and called on the Most High together. This is what the whole world fears, brothers and sisters. This is what they fear. They fear that we are educated beyond the education of this world, that their programming did not work on us. They fear that. Because if you can see and cannot articulate what you see, you are a threat to Satan's world. Why did you think they wanted Christ hung? Why didn't you think that right after Christ was hung, they went after the disciples? Why did you think they destroyed us in 70 AD? Because this idea of spiritual liberation beyond this world changes everything. This is what they fear, brothers and sisters. Smart Israelites who are in Christ. This is what they fear. They fear our minds, our spirit. Go to Revelations 3 and 9. And I need you to go to Jeremiah 16 and 11 right after that.
Revelations chapter 3, verse 9.
Go ahead.
Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not.
Which say they are Jews and are not.
But do lie.
But they're lying. Now, I didn't say that. This is the truth we're saying here. Now, of course, it always go back to this, because when we assume who we are, we have to show you who's not. So these same people who have stolen our identity now are looking to destroy us altogether. You should have seen Clive Davis sitting up there after they done killed that sister Whitney Houston. And this is how they know that their programming works perfectly. They can do all these things, and we sit idle and say nothing. They can kill our people. They can poison our people. They can do whatever they want. They can treat you like a slave, and you say absolutely nothing. You've been conditioned. We have been conditioned as a people. They can sit there and have a satanic ritual before the whole world of sacrifice of one of our daughters, one of our sons, and you will say absolutely, matter of fact, you will cheer it on. So no wonder they can do Agenda 21 and all the programming, because we have mentally and spiritually bought into our own death. Revelations 3 and 9, read it again.
Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee.
Before it's over, all those people, them bankers, all you people who think you're doing something because you have a little time under Satan, the Most High is going to bend you. He will break you to your knees. And you're going to look up, you're going to see us. And you're going to know the Most High loved us anyway, regardless of your trickery and programming to make us believe that evil was good and good was evil. That's why the Most High have mercy and grace on us, because he realized a lot of what we do is because of your programming. That's why the Most High have mercy on us, because you work day and night to destroy us and systematically make us look like criminals, make us look evil, while you're doing all types of rituals and sacrifice and child pornography and pedophilia and backing all types of evil and sex trading and all types of evil that's being promoted through the earth, through your propaganda programming. But yet you'll make us look like the criminal. You'll make our people, and then here it is, they got diseases over there in Nicaragua, where they're killing our people in Nicaragua now. People are dying off like nothing. They're killing our people over in Haiti. They got a systematic program to have the CIA go into Africa and start killing our people in Africa. All over the earth, they're doing this through their war. But yet they want to make everyone out to be criminal and saying that we got to lock people up because they made... Who's doing more than you? How dare you stand and try to say who's right and who's wrong and who should go to jail? And you are systematic, you are criminals from the cradle to the grave. But yet you will look at us and try to make us out to be criminals. The Bible says the Most High is going to make these same people. You're going to break to your knees, and you're going to realize the same people you've enslaved, you destroyed, you systematic vaccinations and soft kills against, that these people are the children of God, and we will never turn back. You're going to kill a lot of us. You will. But this prophecy will be fulfilled. And here's the deeper part about this. When you look up and our Lord and Savior is back, the one you thought you killed, you're going to bow to Yeshua. You're going to bow to the Savior, whom you've killed, and killed over and over again through assassination, through character assassination, through systematic showing people or trying to make people believe that he never existed. You killed Christ on the cross. You hung us on wood. The Most High is bringing us back, brothers and sisters. And I wanted to bring out Agenda 21. Why? I'm bringing this Agenda 21 out, brothers and sisters, because they're not hiding what they're planning to do to us anymore. They'll put it out there where you can read this all on the internet. They don't even care. Because they feel you are so downtrodden and programmed, there's nothing you can do about it anyway. What you going to do? So the best thing you can do is close your eyes, go back to sleep, go back to work, live as if this thing is not coming down. Go ahead. Enjoy your little time. But this thing is coming down. And they're putting it right in your face. There will be, regardless of your Agenda 21, there will be a system in place, a spiritual system, that the Most High will give his people. He's given it to us. He's given it to his people. We will be forced to come together under the Most High to fight spiritually against the Illuminist powers at the top of the pyramid. Not your little Jay-Z's and the little guys who just running around just trying to make a few bucks and survive in the system. We're not even worried about them. They done sold themselves. This spiritual fight is going to be on a high level. One other thing I wanted to get Jeremiah 16 and 11. Read it.
Jeremiah chapter 16 verse 11.
Go ahead.
Then shalt thou say unto them.
Then shalt thou say unto them.
Because your fathers have forsaken me.
Because our fathers have forsaken the Most High.
Saith the Most High. And have walked after other gods.
And we started worshiping other gods. This is the reason your Illuminist Satanists allowed the freedom of religion in the Constitution. America was never a nation under God, under the Most High Creator. How can you say you are a spiritual nation when you draft in your laws that people can come to your country and worship any God they want? Read.
And have served them.
And because we have served other gods.
And have worshipped them.
And we started worshiping other gods, Cesar Borgia, the Caucasian they claim to be Jesus Christ. Second son of Pope Alexander VI of Rome. He was a murderer, a killer. They put him up as a deity to be worshipped by the slaves. A known assassin. This guy just wasn't a regular Caucasian. This guy was an assassin. If you don't believe me, get the book by Gene Plady called The Triptych of Poisoners. This is where they get the story of the Godfather from. He became all-powerful by poisoning and killing all those who may have opposed his rulership and power. This is how the Borgia family became big. The story of the Godfather comes from the Borgias, a known killer and murderer who was known for death and destruction, was put up as Jesus Christ in the New World. So after the real people of God picking peas and cotton all week, the only relief we had as a people was on Sunday morning to bow our knees to an assassin, to a poisoner from the Pope. Read.
And have forsaken me.
And have forsaken the Most High, Ahia. Go ahead.
And have not kept my law.
And we didn't keep the Most High's laws. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And ye have done worse than your fathers.
And we, as a people, have done worse than our fathers in this earth now.
For behold, ye walk every one after the imagination of his evil heart.
And that's what's going on now. And every person now is dealing with their individuality. And they going with what they feel is right. That's the imagination of your own heart. Satan has played on your individuality. He made you feel that you were special, just to separate you from your God. Now it's, well, I don't feel that. Well, my heart is not showing me that. These are the excuses we make not to follow the Most High no more. Oh, well, I'm not feeling that. Well, my spirit is telling me. No, yeah, your spirit, you being controlled by Satan. Yeah, your spirit. What do the Most High say? Read.
Verse 13. Therefore will I cast you out of this land into a land that ye know not.
That's why the Most High cast us out of our holy land. He says, because you wanted to follow your own imaginations, I'm going to cast you into a land outside of the promised land of Israel. More proof that the slaves are from Israel. We're not from Africa. Africa is the Middle Passage. We didn't start there. We wouldn't end there. It was a middle passage between our home Jerusalem and Israel and our enslavement into the Americas. The middle passage. That's what it was called. The slave trade was called what? The middle passage. It's the prophecies of God's people. We ran into Africa, which is the wilderness, running from the Romans in 70 AD. Now, I'm not saying this just to say, okay, we're special and all that. I'm saying this so that we can get prophecy correct, so that our people can understand what's really going on. What is really happening here? Why do we suffer so? Why do we go through so many turmoils and destruction? Why our life is not easy like the other Gentiles, like the nations? This is why. If all nations got together and aimed toward the Chinese people and say, well, listen, let's find a way to keep them destroyed and so that they'll never know their culture, and just all of us together, all the people together joined up against just the Chinese people, the Chinese people would be in bad shape. The same thing if all the nations got together and went against white people and say, okay, let's go against them and systematically destroy them and control their homes and control their families and control their religion. Don't tell them who they are. Never give them any identity. And when they begin to wake up, we'll separate and kill them and destroy them and take their children and program them. If all the nations got together against white people like that, they would be in bad shape. By the same token, if everyone got together, if all nations got together against Middle Easterns and say, well, let's systematically destroy these people, they would be in bad shape. Right? That's common sense. But that happened to the children of Israel. It wasn't just the so-called white man. All nations came together, knowing that we went against our God, knowing that these curses are written, that if we go against the Most High, they have a time to treat us as human commodity. They would have an opportunity to destroy us and take us for slavery. You tell me what else makes sense. Go to Psalms 83. Psalms 83.
Psalms chapter 83 verse 1.
Read it.
Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God.
Go ahead.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
The enemies of the Most High, those that are following other gods, these nations, they make a tumult, which is an uprising. Read.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
And they that hate the Most High have lifted up their head. These are Satanists that are over all governments. They have said what?
Verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
They have taken crafty counsel against God's chosen people. They have done what?
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
And they have consulted against the hidden ones. Who hidden in the earth? God's people. No one knows who Israel is. They're hidden. Like I said earlier, you can point out any other race in this earth and trace them back to ancient times. But when it comes to the children of Israel, well, nobody knows. They must have just fell off the earth. Then you ask, well, what happened to the Romans? Or where the Romans disappeared too. Come on, man. It was no disappearing act. They have fudged history. They have done this during our time of darkness, during our time of captivity. They gave us a new history so that we can ignore our past, so that we can forget, or if they can make it so, they wanted to erase it from canon history altogether. The fact that we were the children of Israel, that we are the children of Israel. The Bible tells you that they would do this in Psalms 83. Read.
Verse 4. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
So all the nations together said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation. These people could never know who they are. All the nations did this. And the UN, the people within the UN, at the pinnacle of the UN, are continuing this oath. Read.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
That the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. Now we know that these people in Israel can't be the people then, because everyone know who they are. But what people forgot the name of Israel? The slaves. The slaves. And all nations work together. I know this one time, one brother walked, I remember when brothers first got the truth, and they walked into a store, a Middle Eastern store, the same store. I like to tell this story sometimes. The same place that they used to go shopping. And they go into the store with the mitre on and with some fringes on. And the Middle Eastern look at them like he's seen a ghost. Like, what are you wearing that for? As if they could see the arising. That God speaks, because when Israelites put on Israelite attire, it's different than anything else in the earth. It's nothing that people can relate to. So it says, they said right now, well, let's cut them off from being a nation. Read, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. Go ahead.
Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent.
And all the nations together have come together with that mindset to program these slaves into believing that they are not the children of Israel. All of them work together. It's not just white people. In order for this to happen to our people throughout the four corners of the earth, this must be a systematic program from the top down. All nations were complicit in this. But now those same nations are being double-crossed by the synagogue of Satan. Read.
They are confederate against thee.
And they are a confederate, which is an organization. A confederacy is an organization. They are organized to continue this program. So their eugenics program, Agenda 21, all of that comes down to this. Let's make sure the slaves never awaken to their true identity. They have a God that's above our God. So in order for us to keep these people destroyed, dejected, we must keep them under religion. We must keep them believing in the system. We must have them follow our gods. No sooner as these people start putting down holidays and putting down all the things, the systematic Kabbalah system that keep these people spiritually entrapped, their vibration will link into their God. We must keep them busy. We must keep them working all the time. Keep hard bondage on them. Make them build brick without straw. We must break these people. They can never connect to their God. If they do, it's over. Hence, Agenda 21. And I'm going to read some of Agenda 21 in a moment. Read.
Verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom.
The tabernacles of Edom. Go ahead.
And the Ishmaelites.
And the who?
And the Ishmaelites.
They're the pinnacle. They are the chief governmental enemies of God's people, the slaves. You have Ishmael, who's over Islam, and you have Edom, who's over Christianity. The two chief religions in the earth being controlled by these two. And they're one and the same. It's a systematic programming of destruction. Well before the Europeans destroyed and enslaved us, the Ishmaelites, the Arabs did. Why? Because Ishmael is upset because Isaac, our forefather, received the blessing. And Esau is upset because Jacob, our father, received the blessings and the covenants. So they're working together to keep us from standing as a people. So how many people out there are talking about this part of it, the biblical part of this, the prophetic part of this? No one. No one out there is putting this together. They want to talk about the chemtrails. They want to talk about the FEMA camps. They want to talk about National Defense Authorization Act. They want to talk about all these things, which are fragments of a puzzle you'll never put together if you don't understand this Bible here. You'll never understand it. It's a program. People are sitting down in offices, outside of offices. Brothers and sisters, they're sitting down in circle rituals with demons amongst them, telling them that our people are waking up with data, with information, with polls. They have all this information in front of them, letting people know it. Listen, you got to do this now. If you don't do this now, this demographic of people are going to wake up. We got more people that are now leaving our gods and are not worshiping other gods anymore. They're coming back to their God. You got people who are getting on planes, going to other places. They're breaking free. They're waking other people up. And then you have other guys that will stand and say, well, listen, we have an idea. Let's just make up a terrorism pretext and just tell people they can't travel. Let's stop them from traveling. Okay, let's make it where they're sexually molested every time they try to go someplace. Let's raise the tickets of everything. Let's implode the system. Let's go into the colleges and make some bioweapons to let loose on the people. Let's do anything to stop these people. Our programming don't work anymore. Well, why don't we just lock them up and just force them to be medicated? If that don't work, let's just kill them all together. Let's just bomb. Let's just go underground and let something loose. This is what they do, brothers and sisters. And they don't care how many of you Gentiles die in the wake. They want us. They're looking at our rising. Listen to this, brothers and sisters. Look at what we've went through as a people. How many people you know have went through what all of our people have went through and are still here and strong? So if all they did up until this time didn't work, you know they're quaking in their boots. So now they're showing their true hand now. They're coming from behind the curtain. They're coming from behind the veil. They're coming straight out and saying, listen, this is a spiritual war. It's about Satan. It's about their god Lucifer. They're in the new age. They're bringing it all the way out for everyone to see for this impending battle against God's people. Let me get that again.
Psalms chapter 83 verse 6.
Go ahead.
The tabernacles of Edom.
I need you to go, because I want to show you that it's systematic, that it's nothing new, this eugenics program. Go to Exodus 1. Let me go to the book of Esther also to show you how all governments in the past planned reconnaissance against us before they took us down. All nations do this. So this Agenda 21 of the elite, I don't even call them the elite, they straight Satanist dirt. Okay, I'm not even going to call, there ain't nothing elite about them. Okay, they just Satanist, blood-sucking vampires, satanic, evil, demonic folk. Okay, the programming, the things that they're doing right now, come from history. It's in the Bible. Let's go to Exodus to show you what, and don't forget, on your dollar bill you have what? The pyramid. Now, what is the connection between America and the pyramid? It's the same deities, the same gods, the same slavery, the same servitude, the same program, the Egyptians against the children of Israel. Look at the stories. So America they're not doing anything new. They're just opening up the books of ancient times and just doing it with technology. But it's still the same program. Look what the Pharaoh said against the children of Israel. Exodus
chapter 1 verse 7.
Go ahead.
And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly.
So the Israelites started having children, and the Most High was blessing them. Sound familiar? Read.
And multiplied.
And they started multiplying. Oh, maybe we need Planned Parenthood here in Exodus, the 1st chapter. Maybe we need eugenics here. Read.
And waxed exceeding mighty.
And we started becoming great and mighty. We're becoming strong. So maybe we need vaccinations to make them weak and docile. There's a clear difference in a child that's vaccinated and a child that's not vaccinated. They call it hyperactive or being hyper. No, it's natural for our people to be hyper at a young age and strong at a young age. That's how warriors are built. Read.
Verse 8. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph.
So here this new king who didn't know Joseph. So what did he plan to do? Read.
Verse 9. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
Those people are getting strong. Read.
Verse 10. Come on, let us deal wisely with them.
Let us deal wisely with these people, and what?
Lest they multiply.
Lest they multiply, and what?
And it come to pass that, when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies, and fight against us.
If we don't stop their population, they may grow stronger than government. Sound familiar? Read.
And so get them up out of the land.
So get them up out of the land.
Verse 11. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters.
So what the first thing they did was go amongst their people and set up taskmasters amongst the people. So you know what they're doing here? They're giving people jobs of authority. So they psychologically profile the weak of the people and give them authority. These are people who never had authority before. These are the lonelies, people that grew up with no girlfriends or boyfriends, people that just felt rejected for no reason. So they psychologically profile these people and say, you know what, we're going to give you some power. Don't you want to be a boss? This is what they do. So you find the weak amongst the people and give them a position. You know, give them some nice clothes, give them a badge or something. They feel very, very special. Same thing. Yeah, look. You know, it's sitting there and you looking at, listen, brother, I went to school with you, man. What are you doing? And they walk and you see him, you just seen him yesterday and y'all pounding, and now he's running around. You see him with the cops. He's sitting there, ain't even looking at you. This is what happens. This is what goes on in this world. So you give a guy a position, something warps in their mind where they believe there's someone different. You're still the same guy. So the Egyptians did it. America do the same thing. You give these guys who just want to be tough and just give them a job, not even realizing they're killing and destroying their own people. Taskmasters is what it's called in Egypt. Policemen is what it's called in America and in Britain and around the world. Taskmasters, people that will be enforcers for government. Read.
And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses.
So then they put the people to work, started enslaving them. Same thing, internment camps. Oh yeah. You're going to work for nothing. Oh, you think you don't owe anything. You were born in debt. So if you don't, if now on this map, I need you to pull that map up again because it's showing you on this Agenda 21 map that the red area will be little to no human life at all. In the red area of Agenda 21, in the red area. Now look, I want you brothers and sisters to see almost the whole map is red. This is the future the UN is planning, in which the majority of the map itself is showing the red areas where little to no human life at all. So what are they planning where you're not going to be able to live in none of these areas? The Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. No, leave it up there because I want to show a few more things. The yellow area is the buffer zones. The buffer zone is where you would have your government, TSA or whatever government officials there, and they will be used to process the people within the country in your yellow zones. Those are your processing areas where you will be processed if you live through the bioweapons if you live through the bioweapons, if you live through the destruction of the earthquakes and all the other things that are coming there, they are going to let a bioweapon loose. They're going to do that. They're also going to do all types of false flags to alarm the people, to make you think that someone else is doing something to you outside of government. And listen, I didn't write this map. I didn't make this map up. This is the plan for the future America, brothers and sisters. Here it is. The blue part, it show you here, is for normal. The blue part is the zone of cooperation. And this is scattered throughout different parts from mid to the east coast, all the way down to Florida. All these blue parts here will belong to China. It was already sold to China. You just don't know it yet. They own it already. These are zones of cooperation. Areas that were sold like a corporation to China. The brown area is zones of cooperation for the border, because a lot of the border is going to go back to Mexico. Going to be reverted back to Mexico. That means America have been downsized or liquidated by the corporate CEOs of this world. There is no more America. It's a mirage. Let's go back.
Exodus chapter 1, verse 11.
Go ahead.
Therefore they did set over them taskmasters.
So the first thing they do in this systematic destruction is to set up police over the people. Then to inflict punishment on you. And then, this is what they do through fear. They put you and make you work. They started making our people work in these, building Pithams and Ramesses and these different temples for the Egyptians. See, this is what they do. Hard bondage is coming. Fusion centers. What law someone would pass where they can they don't even have to charge you. They can just claim you did something. No judge, no jury, and lock you up indefinitely until there's no more combatants or there's no more threat. So that's forever. And a lot of you might think this is far-fetched. This is the bill that Barack Obama have signed. And then look what they did with the underwear bomb. First of all, the federal government got him on the plane. It's proof of that already. And then here it is. He pled innocent at first. And then a lawyer who actually seen the government get him on the plane wanted to testify for him. So they pulled him back. And next thing you know, the guy come out of his mind one day and say, well, I want to defend myself. Mind programming. He's being controlled. Because what guy would take a plea deal to serve life imprisonment? The charge itself would have meant life imprisonment if he would afford it. That's not a plea. That's not a plea. A plea, you should get a lesser charge. So now they didn't shift the narrative from Arabs to black people, to white libertarians, somebody who may oppose the government, people who are not programmed or living under the program system. Or they can say, now they got a new type of terrorist. If they feel anything you say or do is anti-government, they got a law that it's extremist. Extremists mean terrorists now. So we have to lock you up because we don't know what you may do. You're not programmed. So you might do something outside of the program. So we're going to put you into a ward indefinitely. This is all systematic. Finish reading because I got a few more before we turn it over. Read.
Verse 12. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew.
But the more they destroyed and killed us back then in Egypt, the more we grew anyway, because the Most High was with us. So they had to come up with a new program. You want to know what that is? Read.
But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel.
So the Egyptians were grieved because our people continue to have children. Sound familiar? What comes next?
Verse 13. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor.
Go down to the point where they wanted to kill the children, the man child.
Verse 15. Verse 14. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar.
Exodus 1 and 14, go ahead.
And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service wherein they made them serve was with rigor.
Jobs.
Verse 15. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah,
nurses,
and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew woman, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son.
If it be a son, knowing that the nation comes through the man, they don't mind if it's a daughter, because if an Egyptian sleep with an Israelite woman, it will come out Egyptian. So they didn't care about the women child coming through. They cared about they had more attention towards the male seed. So what?
Then ye shall kill him.
You shall what?
Then ye shall kill him.
Abortion. If you see a man child come out, kill him. So what did the UN eugenics, how did the UN eugenics brain trust ramp up this Egyptian campaign against God's people? They sat around tables and said, you know what? Well, the Egyptians did it when the baby was born. Suppose we can get to the baby before then. And we'll just put this under woman's rights, that they got the right to kill their baby. Let's do this. Why don't we just tell people that, at a certain age, it's really not a baby there. It's a fetus, technically. That way, people will not endear themselves to the child. And then we'll just make cases. We'll just magnify and promote cases of extreme, like women being raped. Every time someone mentions abortion, we'll just bring up a rape situation and say, well, suppose the woman is raped. When the majority of people who are aborting their children haven't been raped. But that's what they use for the argument. Well, suppose there's a situation where someone is raped. Now, the emotional pendulum has swung on the eugenic side. No longer is the child important because it's the fetus, but the right of the woman. See, and this is how they did this. They looked at the Egyptian destruction of the children of Israel and say, listen, we must ramp this up 100-fold. We must make it where a woman don't go to full term. And then we have to agree with the woman to get her tubes tied or to not have children altogether going forward. We have to bring this thing on the next level. We have to make this generational instead of one child. We must put it in the mindset of these people that it's wrong to have children. Or they may grow up and overrun our government. Now, at first, let me tell you, a lot of people in America, especially white people during the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, they knew this. They knew that this was really aimed towards destroying us, Planned Parenthood. But they let it happen because it wasn't affecting them directly at that time. But now, the gloves done came off. These eugenicists and these Satanists are killing everybody now. And they have influenced those people up there who hid themselves in the suburbs. Now there's your daughter out there getting coaxed into aborting your children and all those things that are being influenced by a society you allowed to get like this. So now they must come out now and speak about it now because it's affecting them. But the original aim was towards a people, and that can't be denied. And that's the point we're showing here. It's always been against us. We are the children of Israel. Now there's more. Read.
Verse 16. And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew woman.
That's your nurses. Your nurses are complicit. Let me tell you, the majority of children in these hospitals that get sick is through the needle of your nurses. They put women there on purpose because it looked innocent. They look like carers and nurturers and mothers. But they are deadly destroyers and killers. They are silent killers in white, these nurses. They know the state of a child before and after one of those vaccinations. They have seen the child operate normally, and then 5 minutes later or 10 minutes later, the baby is unresponsive. After you have taken blood and vaccinated and shot mercury and squalene and cow pus and all different things up in these newborns who are fine with just mother's milk. Nurses. So they try to employ the woman. You notice how they separate the woman and program her to make her believe she's doing a service for government. This is what they do. Read.
And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew woman.
Go ahead.
And see them upon the stools. If it be a son, see them up. If it be a son, then ye shall kill him.
Then you shall kill him. Who were they trying to kill? See, the Egyptian knew, sitting down with sorcerers, he knew that the children of Israel was prophesied to have a savior or someone who would deliver God's people from hard bondage. And he wanted to kill off the man-child before it happened. So back then, even though we read this in a biblical story, back then, this was government, eugenics, population control. And of course they had legislation to make this legal for them to do this in Egypt. But that doesn't mean that it was right. That doesn't mean because it was a law in Egypt for them to kill our young men that it was right. So listen, there's nothing new under the sun. They're doing the same thing over and over again. So when you see that pyramid in the all-seeing eye, Satan, who controlled Egypt, is controlling all these secret societies and world governments. And they are controlling the Agenda 21. Let's go to the next one. Let's go into the one when it comes to the Assyrians. In the book of Esther. I mean, the book of Judith, right? Mm-hmm. The book of Judith and the Apocrypha. Because they also had a systematic plan against us. First of all, they observe us and have reconnaissance. And they observe us as a people first. Let me tell you, the CIA and government do this all the time. They do this even on a low level, even in our ghettos. Like when they want to spy out an area for regentrification or to take the area, what the first thing they do? They send in some little punk rock or Caucasian punk rock, a guy and a girl into the neighborhood like college students. They'll just be living on the block. And you think that they're just college students. They scoping out the whole area. They're looking at the characters of the people there, all that. And they're reporting back. And before it's over, they done took the whole neighborhood and put some fancy name on it. This is how they do it. Same thing over and over. They use reconnaissance first. They want to see what we eat, how we drink, how we react to adversity. They test us to see if we've been broken, whether or not there's some more programming that must happen. This happens all the time, brothers and sisters. Wake up. You were born in a war. And I hope through the Spirit of the Most High that what we're teaching and the things that we're bringing forth through the Spirit of Ahia, that this fall on the minds, the willing minds that are out there to understand this and come back to the Most High. And keep the commandments, regardless of organization or all that other stuff. that you know that it's the Most High speaking to you on what you need to do in this day and time to make it through. Let's get it in the book of Judith, chapter and verse.
Judith chapter 5, verse 1.
Go ahead.
Then it was declared to Holofernes, the chief captain of the army of Asher, that the children of Israel had prepared for war, and had shut up the passages of the hill country, and had fortified all the tops of the high hills, and laid impediments in the campaign countries. Wherewith he was very angry, and called all the princes of Moab, and the chief captains of Ammon, and all the governors of the sea coast. Verse 5. Then said Achor, the chief captain, as a matter of fact, verse 3, and he said unto them, Tell me now, ye sons of Canaan, who this people is.
So now, one of the chief of the government wanted to know, well, who is these people here? They was looking at us and observing us. Read.
That dwelleth in the hill country.
That dwelleth in the hill country. So they're getting reconnaissance on these people, on our forefathers. Read.
And what are the cities that they inhabit?
Go ahead.
And what is the multitude of their army?
And how many people are in their army?
And wherein is their power and strength?
And where do they get their power and strength?
And what king is set over them, or captain of their army? And why have they determined not to come and meet me?
So this is why you have your census out there, brothers and sisters. Your census. This is why you have your number of census that comes together to try to figure out what's going on, to number how many people of you. And listen, and they don't mind you being up in their little Illuminati CIA gangs like the Blood and Crips and all those things, because you're still being controlled and you're still under a satanic, ritualistic program. But if you start coming together to protect your own people and to protect your neighborhood outside of government, now they're looking to deal with you. You understand? So this is the reconnaissance of what's going on. They're trying to figure out, well, what God? Who's empowering them? What is their strength? How many men can really see? Read.
Verse 5. Then said Achior, the captain of all the sons of Ammon, Let my Lord now hear a word from the mouth of thy servant, and I will declare unto thee the truth concerning this people.
Let me tell you who these people are. That's what he's saying here. You want to ask who these people are? Let me tell you.
Which dwelleth near thee, and inhabit the hill countries, and there shall no lie come out of the mouth of thy servant. Verse 6. This people are descended of the Chaldeans, and they sojourned heretofore in Mesopotamia, because they would not follow the gods of their fathers, which were in the land of Chaldea.
They're over here because they didn't follow the God of their fathers.
Verse 8. For they left the way of their ancestors and worshiped the God of heaven.
These people fell because they left the God, their God, and started worshiping the God of the heaven.
The God whom they knew, so they cast them out of the face. So they cast them out from the face of their gods, and they fled into Mesopotamia and sojourned there many days.
So our people forsook the God of heaven, and started worshiping the gods of the other nations. So the Most High displaced them. He started putting them in other areas outside of Israel. Read.
Then their God commanded them to depart from the place where they sojourned, and to go into the land of Canaan, where they dwelt, and were increased with gold and silver, and with very much cattle.
So it's saying that the Most High preserved these people, and eventually told these people to go into the land of Canaan. These are the same people that was from the Chaldees, from Abraham. And then there was a famine, and eventually, these people went into Israel, the land of Canaan. Go ahead.
Verse 10. But when a famine covered all the land of Canaan, they went down into Egypt and sojourned there while they were nourished.
These are the same people that walked into Egypt from the Chaldees. Read.
And became there a great multitude, so that one could not number their nation.
We became so great that they couldn't number the number of us. The blessings of Abraham fell upon us. We were multiplying like nothing when we were in Egypt. Read.
Verse 11. Therefore the king of Egypt rose up against them, and dwelt subtly with them, and brought them low with laboring and brick, and made them slaves.
See that? And a lot of you think you're proud because you're working. Oh, I got a job. Listen, you're a systematic slave. You're working and you have nothing to show for it. And if you don't believe you're a slave, stop working for about a month or two. You're not free. You lose everything. You're only 2 months away from being homeless. That's a slave. Read.
Verse 12. Then they cried unto their God.
Then they cried unto their God.
And he smote all the land of Egypt with incurable plagues.
He plagued Egypt because of us. And see, now the nations now are looking to plague us based on what our God did to Egypt. So they give us systematic plagues. When we're born, they shoot the plagues in us. Vaccinations. I'm going to keep on putting that out there because that's a silent killer. All of our people agree with that death. And you ask somebody, have that child been vaccinated? Yeah, he got his shots. Sound like a dog. Sound like a dog or a cat. Oh yeah, they got their shots. Read.
So the Egyptians cast them out of their sight.
So the Egyptians cast them out of their sight. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And the Most High dried the Red Sea before them, and brought them to Mount Sinai, and Kadesh Barnea, and cast forth all that dwelt in the wilderness. So they dwelt in the land of the Amorites, and they destroyed by their strength all them of Eshbon. The passing over Jordan, they possessed all the hill country, and they cast forth before them the Canaanite, and the Perizzite, the Jebusite, and the Sychemite, and the Gergesites, and they that dwelt in that country many days. And whilst they sinned not before their God, they prospered, because the God that hated iniquity was with them.
So it tells us that as long as Israel followed the commandments of the Most High, the other nations could not touch them. So the Most High prospered Israel by following the law, statutes, and commandments. No wonder in the churches they're teaching you shouldn't follow God's commandments. They tell you in the churches it's sin to follow God's commandments. Eat pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, forget the Sabbath, no holy days. Yeah, they need you like that because as long as you are lawless, Satan can have his way with you. Read.
Verse 18. But when they departed from the way which he appointed them.
But when our people walked away from their God, Ahia, the I am that I am. Read.
They were destroyed in many battles very sore.
After that, the nations started winning against us in battles. Before this, the nations could not battle against us. Read.
And were led captives into a land that was not theirs.
Read it again.
And were led captives into a land that was not theirs.
And was led captive into a land which is not theirs. Who does this sound like, brothers and sisters? I hope Pastor Manning, through the Spirit of the Most High, fall on this video. He don't know it. And he got something against God's people. He got something against himself. But he don't even know that he will be used to totally get his people destroyed. And then they're going to move him out of the way. They're going to utterly just eradicate him. Okay? Because let me tell you, it's one thing. They respect warriors. But they loathe traitors. Because why? If you would sell your own people out, what good would you do for them? Finish reading.
And the temple of their God was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies. Verse 19. But now are they returned to their God.
Now they have returned to their God. Read.
And are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed Jerusalem with their sanctuary, where their sanctuary is.
Now, that shows you that according to the Most High, when we come back to the Most High eventually, we will inhabit Jerusalem. Now, some people might say, well, this fulfills the prophecy after World War II with the Jewish people that went into Israel in 1948, but it don't. Isaiah the 2nd chapter tells us that once the Israelites, the true people of God, are in the land will study war no more. The garden tools will be beat into plowshares, and there shall be no more war. Since they've been there, can you count the wars? They're countless. So no, they didn't fulfill the prophecy of the children of Israel going back home. The Israelites will not go back home until the Messiah returns, until Yeshua returns. And it doesn't matter what agenda Satan and his cohorts have against us. All of their agendas will fail. We as a people must come back to the Most High. And I'm going to say this. We would never, in the spirit of the Most High, try to tear down anyone personally at all. We are cast down all imaginations of religion that have enslaved our people. But we will never attack anyone out there personally, ever. Why? Because the Bible states a nation divided against itself cannot stand. And you have to learn to pick your battles wisely in a short time. Okay? And I'm putting that out there because some people ask why we don't make videos to little things and little people saying something and all that. Listen, we have no time for little responses. Our battle is bigger. We must proclaim the truth throughout the four corners of the earth. Then the end will come. We have a bigger battle. And when all of us realize that the battle is deeper than these smaller battles, we as a people, and I'm not just talking about the children of Israel, we as God's people who want to follow the Most High in spirit and truth, we as a people will overcome. With that, I'm going to say shalom, and I'm going to open this up for the next 3 minutes. And again, if you want to know what your friendly government have in plan for you, you can type into your browser Agenda 21 Death Map. That's the future of the country you all believe in. And I'll tell you this right now. They're doing rituals right before you. They got the goddess Esther, satanic Madonna before the whole world in a sermon, before the whole earth ushering in the new age. They got sacrifices going on. They got Nicki Minaj running around in satanic red blood next to the Pope, saying that she's possessed by the spirit Roman. And I mean, brothers and sisters, this thing is all out now. The demons have been released. For those who don't think there's a God, I'll tell you what, there's definitely a Satan, isn't there? And if there's a Satan, there's definitely a God that hurled him. His name is Ahia. His name is Ahia. Okay, that's good. All right, with that, we're going to open this up for questions for the next 5 minutes, and I went over the time. I'm sorry, Brother Gabar. After this, I'll just relay it to you over in New York.